Have you been looking for a supportive space where you can talk lupus advocacy and business? Then I have the group for you. Join the Loopy Boss Academy on Facebook today. You'll gain access to valuable info on lupus advocacy and business strategies. Plus, you'll have networking opportunities with fellow lupus warrior bosses. So don't miss out. Find us on Facebook now and let's empower one another to reach to the next level. Hi, welcome to Lupus Speaks Podcast, where we shine a spotlight on lupus who are bossing it in business, inspiring others, and making a mark in the lupus community. I'm your host, Shedrica Holmes, on a mission to showcase the incredible journeys of lupus warriors turned entrepreneurs, influencers, and advocates. So get ready for empowering stories, insightful conversations, and a dose of inspiration. This is not just a podcast, it's a platform for you to dream again. So join me as we explore the possibilities beyond lupus and celebrate the resilience of lupus community. Hi guys, happy Wednesday. We have another episode and thank you so much for tuning in today. We have Miss Tanya, the Lupus Dietitian. She's a lupus warrior who's defied the odds by putting her condition into remission through diet and lifestyle changes. And so you were diagnosed with lupus 9 years ago?
Yeah, it's coming up on 10. This summer will be 10 years, which it feels crazy. It feels like I can't believe so much of like a big chunk of my life has been with lupus. Yeah.
No.
Yes.
So could you take us through your journey of putting lupus into remission through diet and lifestyle changes? Because that's very inspiring to me.
Thank you. Yes, I am happy to speak about it. I will give a little bit more of like my background. So, I was
Please.
diagnosed with my first autoimmune disease when I was 12 years old. And before then, I had been completely healthy, rarely even got sick. Like other kids would get cold and flu and stomach bugs, and I was always fine. I didn't miss school very often. I felt okay. So, I was diagnosed with that first autoimmune disease when I was 12. And then as many people with an autoimmune disease can speak to their experience, it's like you get one, and then oftentimes, oh, here's another one that you're diagnosed with, and another one that you're diagnosed with. It just seems like autoimmune issues um, breed other autoimmune diseases and issues. So then throughout my teens, I did get diagnosed with other autoimmune diseases. And there were times where I was in the hospital for more than a month because everything was just not going well. And then I would get into a quiet period where things were well controlled. And then lupus, that was my last diagnosis. So that was almost 10 years ago. And I had already been working as a dietitian for a few years and been in the nutrition space for a while and thought to myself, like, okay, clearly I thought I was eating healthy, but this isn't the right thing for lupus. I have some sort of inflammation that's still ongoing in my body, and it keeps coming out in these different ways. Like, if you've got a yard, the weeds just keep coming out, and you're like, I thought I pulled all of them, and then another one pops up. And so it just felt like things just kept popping up. So I went to all of the research about anything nutrition related for lupus, and I implemented all of it for myself and realized, okay, there's a lot of changes that I can make and I feel so much better. So it did take me a little while. It wasn't overnight. It was over the course of about a year where I tried different things and I was still having flares. And then I realized, okay, I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm needing less of these interventions with my doctors. My labs are looking better. I'm feeling better. So that was really, really motivating for me to keep going and trying to figure out, okay, what else can help? What else can help? And so I implemented all of that for myself now almost 10 years ago. And over the last 4 years during this pandemic, people had a lot more time to reflect. I realized in the lupus space online, there wasn't a whole lot of really great information about nutrition, that it wasn't being spoken about enough. Not that there aren't people out there speaking about it, but it needs to be louder and more. So then I realized, wow, I can really, really share my story. I can make an impact and help others be able to do something in their day to day that helps them feel better.
Okay, so can you share more about the specific changes that you made
I made a lot.
into
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'll say, like, the big trajectory is I eliminated the things that were causing inflammation in my body. Everybody's a little bit different about what that looks like. So now, working in this space, I've had more than 120 clients that I've worked with one on one, and lupus pops up differently for everyone. So what works for me may not work for everyone, but the big thing that you have to do at the beginning is eliminate things that are causing inflammation. And so that could be foods, that could be things in your environment, that could be stressors. Certainly, I focus a lot on foods. So eliminating those was my step one. And then it was this big, long list of all the foods that are really anti inflammatory, all of the things that are beneficial for lupus. So it was adding those in really, really consistently. That was my next step. And then for everyone out there, in terms of what I did in my own life that is made a huge difference, is really work on my gut health. So being on antibiotics, some of these medications can really impact our gut health in a negative way. And then all of these changes really improved my gut health. So many people I talk with that have lupus say, oh yeah, my stomach always feels like a little off. Sometimes I'm nauseous, sometimes I'll have diarrhea or constipation and just go back and forth kind of randomly. And those are all signs that your gut health just isn't in the best place. And it's so intertwined with our immune system.
So I'm familiar with the word gut health.
Yeah.
Like I'm familiar with it. But could you clear up for us that really don't know specifically what the gut health entails? Like what makes it quote unquote healthy and
Yeah.
what makes it not?
That's a great question. I love talking about this. Gut health is a couple different things. One, it is the ratio and the balance of the good bacteria and the bad bacteria. So, that could be like, for example, people always talk about, oh, I'm going to have probiotics. I'm going to add that to my diet because that helps the good gut bacteria. So, that's one thing. When we take antibiotics, for example, that's kind of medication shotgun approach, you're just killing everything, which
Hmm.
could be helpful if we're trying to get rid of the bad, but not
Mhm.
so great if we also got rid of all the good. So the gut bacteria is one piece of gut health, but then also, so our intestines, large and small intestines, have cells that should be like this, where they're nice and tight and like no gaps between. But when you have a lot of inflammation, when you've had a lot of basically irritants, things that damage them, sometimes they get little gaps. So now those cells aren't acting like a wall like they should, where now, like if we're imagining a wall with bricks, now that mortar between the bricks is all crumbly and bigger things are getting through, like you can see through it. And so that means big proteins that shouldn't be able to get through that wall are coming through. And then the problem with that is it activates our immune system. Our immune system says, whoa, what is this? I can't handle this. This was not on my bingo card today of things that I can do. And it starts to produce antibodies. So, for example, there's an autoimmune disease called celiac disease. Those people cannot have one speck of gluten or wheat. It really damages their digestive tract. Now, there are people that have non celiac gluten sensitivity, and that means they don't have celiac disease, but their gut does not react well to gluten, that it causes this damage. It kind of chips away at the mortar, it causes inflammation. So everybody's different, but that those two pieces, so the actual cells, if they're nice and tight and keeping things that are too big to get digested out of their wall, and then the actual bacteria are two pieces of gut health. But then it's also kind of your underlying nutrient status. So, for example, people that are vitamin D deficient, that are deficient in B12, that are iron deficient, your gut health, your gut is not as well nourished, it's not going to function that well, because you don't have the right nutrients in your body to function at optimal level. So, for example, people always ask me about like hair, skin, and nails. Like, oh man, it's not looking that great. I feel really self conscious about this because of lupus. When we're nutrient deficient, our body prioritizes like our brain, our heart, our digestion, and then the hair, skin, and nails are like last priority. Like that's nice to prioritize, but we're not super worried about it. But when you become more and more deficient, then it does impact our gut health. It goes further down the line, and your body is always going to prioritize just keeping you alive. But these other things start to not function that well.
It sounds almost like an allergy when you were explaining the gut health, like it's kind of like its own allergy or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of a similar idea. Like, so for example, people that do have an allergy, maybe they'll get hives or their throat will close up, and that people that have an intolerance, it causes a negative reaction, kind of like an allergy, just a little bit different in terms of like what actually pops up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, um, I know we were talking about this before, and you were saying that. Okay, so I'll just ask the question.
Please.
Some people believe that diet alone can significantly reduce lupus flares and symptoms. Do you share this belief? And how do you see the relationship between diet, lifestyle, and lupus management?
That's a great question. So I believe that diet is a huge portion of this. 100%. Everyone that is trying to feel better with lupus has to address their diet because it has everything to do with how your body is going to function. What we eat literally becomes our body. Like our body is ever changing. Just like you cut your finger, your skin heals over it. What is your body making that out of if it's not food? Like the building blocks of our body are our diet. So you could be filling it with lots of nutrient dense things, produce, vegetables, fruits, all of these things that have vitamins and minerals. And wow, you're building up your body really well. Or if it's a lot of processed stuff, you might be missing out on a lot of really important things. So, diet is, of course, from my perspective, a really, really, really big piece. But I do always tell people, and I have a slide in all my slide decks about you as a whole, like your view on your life. So, nutrition is one big piece, but then there is also your movement. So, if you're not moving your body well in a way that feels good, that's getting your circulation and keeping your joints in a great place, you're not going to feel your best and it's not going to be best for your mental health. Then there is the support component of it and mental health. If you are in a super stressful job, if you're in a super stressful toxic relationship or have family members driving you crazy,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to feel the best either. So that support component of it, your environment. So unfortunately, sometimes people struggle with still smoking or a lot of alcohol dependence. And those are things that may help us, especially if you're coping with a lot of stress or trauma, but then cause other damage. And all of these are completely intertwined. So holistically, you have to think about all of those components. So diet's a huge thing, but it can't be the only thing.
Okay, so systematic inequalities impact the lives of individuals living with lupus, and what steps can be taken to address these disparities?
I think about this all the time. I really do, because certainly I'm 100% a feminist. Lupus, 9 out of 10 people with lupus affects women. 2 to 3 times more women of color. That could be African American, Hispanic American, Native American. There's so many indigenous people, Alaskan, any person of color. Lupus affects that group more so than white American women. So already we know it's women and people of color. There are systemic inequalities, certainly built into the United States. There's certainly a lot of bonuses, a lot of opportunities, but we have a lot of work to do in terms of equality. I was just at a event last week about pay inequality, and yes, women have come so far since the 1970s in terms of now we can open our own credit card, we can have our own bank account. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
amazing strides that we have made, but there is still study upon study. If you put two resumes, one has a female sounding name, one has a male sounding name, it's exactly the same. That man gets called for an interview. Man. So there's so much more work to be done in terms of our healthcare and lupus. This is actually 100% my passion of why I have my private practice, why I try to put out so much great content and so much free content of I just want this to reach the maximum amount of people that it can be so helpful to chip away at some of these inequalities. Healthcare in and of itself, whew, we got to do a lot there too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
employer based is really tough for the lupus community because if you do lose your job because of flare, now what? You have to have interruptions in your care. Maybe you can't see the same doctors anymore. Just getting medical records from one place to another is something that a lot of people basically would need to take like a college course on just how to navigate the healthcare system. Lupus
Mm-hmm.
affects a lot of young women that have no medical history. So now you're being thrown into, I have to manage my healthcare amongst maybe three specialty doctors, my primary care doctor. I got to figure out these bills. I have to figure out my medical records, how to get the insurance to cover things. Like it is a part-time job and it shouldn't be. Healthcare should be
Mm-hmm.
simple. It should be free. It should be for everyone. That's a whole different whole we can talk for hours on that. But yes, 100%. There is a lot of inequality. There is a lot of problems with access. I've seen a study about the lack of rheumatologists, especially in rural areas. So people have to travel very far. That costs money. That is inaccessible to a lot of people. And so there's a lot of problems that I don't know how to solve. I wish I
Man, we can't do it alone.
no, can't do it alone. But yes, you're right. You're right. And then just who gets lupus and why lupus comes about does have to do with a lot of autoimmune diseases in general. There's three components. So there's the genetics. So maybe you just have a predisposition to some sort of autoimmune disease. Then there's the environment. So for example, silica is one of those things that is sometimes used in industries. If you're exposed to that, it greatly increases your risk for lupus. So those two. But then there's this other thing that's just okay, the hormonal portion of it, women, but the stress, the trauma, the whatever you're dealing with in your life that can cause your immune system that maybe was predisposed to have an autoimmune disease go into that autoimmune disease. So then, of course, poverty, inability to access resources, racism, misogyny, patriarchy, like all of these things are stressful and traumatic. And then you have your life experience, like it just layer
It's
on
just,
layer.
yeah. So could you elaborate a little bit more about you saying this is the reason why you have your private practice? Could you tell a little bit more about the private practice and why you
Yeah,
went into it?
definitely. So I try to help people in a lot of different ways. One-on-one, certainly, but also in a group setting so that people can have the community with others, can have the curriculum of all the education that they could possibly need so that they can be their own advocate. So they can go to a doctor, and maybe it's not the best doctor, but maybe this is the doctor they have access to and can say, hey, I'm not really comfortable with the side effects of this medication. I've read about XYZ. Can I try these medications so that they can be a more, I don't want to call it the leader in their healthcare, more of a participant, more of an advocate for themselves because so much of it is so overwhelming. So I even have a module of how to prevent medical gaslighting, how to protect yourself. I've chatted with people on social media about doctors that are really doing borderline illegal things,
Hmm.
and how to protect themselves from that. Like, doctors are humans too.
Right.
Sometimes they're not the best. And so
Yeah.
in my private practice, yes, I have the one-on-one, I have the group. I do a lot of free webinars. I do a lot of amazing things like this where I get to speak to other people in the lupus community. So there's just more information out there. Um, and it's always in terms of like the business side of things and me being a dietitian and a clinician, I'm always trying to re-strategize. Okay, there's only one of me. How can I make the biggest impact? How can I reach the most amount of people with limited time? We only have 24 hours in the day.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as someone who has experienced remission from lupus, what advice do you have for others navigating their journey with this chronic illness? Especially uh just like in this day and time, because like how do you do that and manage your life and your practice and everything that you have going on?
I can't say that I do this perfectly. I don't at all
Hmm.
because I know I have to take care of myself. First and foremost, you cannot fill other people's cup if your cup is empty. So that is a constant struggle for me. I try to build into my schedule these opportunities for self-care, these things that because self-care is not a weekend at the spa. You can't undo 3 months of stress with 1 weekend. It has to be daily. It has to be these boundaries that you set to prioritize yourself. So I'm working on it. I would say my advice is to think of it as this like you're a flower, you're a plant, and you gotta continually nourish yourself, water yourself, get some sunshine, not too much, but a little bit. Um,
Hmm.
and take care of yourself. Otherwise, you're gonna burn out. You're gonna get yourself really sick, um, and then you're worse off than before. So it's maybe building the time in your schedule, saying no to things, putting up boundaries. Boundaries are a lot of the conversations I have with people. I think it's a really big struggle for people with autoimmune diseases, specifically women with lupus, because women are conditioned to never put yourself first. It's everybody else's needs that are more important than yours. And that's false, but it's hard to
Yeah.
get away from.
Yeah, it is, especially when you are setting that boundary and people are so used to you being the yes person. And when you finally take a stand and be like, nope, just not, I have to consider how I feel today. It doesn't go so well all the time.
Yeah, it really doesn't. And then you start to have doubts. Well, am I being unreasonable? And it's no, you're not being unreasonable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I know I have those moments. I have to sit down and reflect and be like, am I tripping? Am I crazy? So you would say this is your health habits non-negotiables. So what would you say is your non-negotiable health habits?
I just started this book, which was recommended to someone. It's called The Artist Way, and it's all about tapping into your creativity. One of the recommendations from that is to do morning pages. So every morning you set aside this little bit of time for yourself to just write. And it's 3 journal pages. And the point is not to make my to-do list for the day, not to get centered in terms of what am I producing. It's just what were my dreams? What am I reflecting on? What am I working through? And just kind of like brain dump. I
Mhm.
love it so hard. It makes me so happy. And it
Oh.
literally is just writing out things, but it has just been such an opportunity for reflection and a little bit of peace and quiet in the morning. Now, I'm not perfect. I don't get this done every day. But when I do, I feel like I am so much more centered and less frazzled for the whole day. So that's nice. I really prioritize making time for exercise, but I always tell people with lupus, without lupus, exercise is not for the goal of, oh, I want a six pack. I need to lose weight.
Mhm.
I need to do this. I need to do that. That external exercise for me is I need to move my body in a way that feels good. And that could be 10 minutes of stretching. That could be a 20-minute online yoga video. It could be going on a walk. it just has to be something that nourishes me too while I'm doing it. I certainly in my 20s did a lot of things for exercise that were like super high intensity, burn as many calories as possible. And I'm like, I don't need to treat my body that way.
Yeah. So, as a dietitian, I want you to share with us, if you can, what a day of meals look like for you. Like, what does that look like?
It's all over the place. And I tell people this all the time. I am not perfect. No one is perfect. We're all doing the best we can. So, for example, I really try to make sure I have a high protein breakfast. Sometimes that looks like scrambled eggs with vegetables. Sometimes that looks like maybe smoked salmon in the morning or overnight oats, or I really like Siggy's plant-based yogurt. It's not too sweet. It has a good amount of protein. So something I have to start my day with protein. Otherwise, I am hangry and cranky and I can't focus as I want to. Yeah, so it's not a good look for me if I don't start with protein in the morning. Um, and then really the rest of the day, my objective is okay, where am I getting my vegetables from? Because I want to get half of my plate to be vegetables. So that's always kind of the objective. But I also tell people when you're thinking about your day's worth of meals, it does not have to be gourmet. It does not have to be Instagrammable. Just try to get in things that bring you joy. So the flavors that you like, the recipes that are nostalgic to you, that are important part of your family. Because it could look like a lot of things. Like, for example, sometimes I just have some leftovers, like a chicken thigh, a little bit of rice, and then I'll make a
Mhm.
green smoothie because 'cause I'm like, "Well, I don't have veggies that I wanna eat right now, so I'll just make a smoothie and have, like, this little mini meal with it." Sometimes it's a big salad. I really like soups during the wintertime because you can throw
Mhm.
everything in there and you can
Mhm.
freeze the single servings. So we gotta make this also time efficient. We all have lots
Right.
to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's so cool. Because I just, in my mind, I guess I was expecting you to have like this strict diet
No, I do the
just
best.
from everything that you know.
Yeah. And you know what? I find that most people, if we can follow, let's say, a pretty good diet, 85, 90% of the time, that little wiggle room of sometimes we go out to eat and I just get something that I'm really excited about eating. Maybe it's not the healthiest choice on the menu. That 10% wiggle room is joy. And for our mental health
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
And like to be able to relax
yeah,
a little bit and just be like, okay, that's okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that. I see that because I would want to be uptight about my food all the time. I think that's what makes me not really stick to specific diet. And I mean, I guess it's not a bad thing because I spoke with someone who's completely vegan. They would never go back, and I respect that because then that's a level of discipline that you have for yourself that your body is really important no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and maybe that right there gives them joy, the one that you're speaking of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it doesn't, as long as it
So,
doesn't feel like too much stress, then
yeah.
then you've gotten a good diet where you feel like you can maintain it. It just has to be long-term sustainable, and that's different for everybody.
And the last thing I really wanted you to share with us is what does your treatment look like right now since your diet and your lifestyle change has definitely impacted the reduced amount of symptoms that you do have? Take us through everything else that you do have to do.
Yeah. So, in terms of my medication regimen, I always tell people this: I am not completely medication free, but I am basically on the minimal amount of medication for my weight. And out of all of the list of lupus medications that there could be, I am on very, very few. So, when I was first diagnosed, they wanted me to do, and I had tried Cellcept, I had been recommended for Benlysta, so they wanted to get me all the way up the ladder in terms of try this medication and this medication. My labs were very dangerous in terms of it was already affecting my kidneys, and they did not have hopes that I would be able to be on so little. Um, So it depends on everybody. I don't like to put it out there of like, okay, this is my path. This is going to look exactly the same way for you. But one of the goals I have with all of my clients that they usually make a top priority is to be on less medication. So I support people through that of, okay, wherever you are, maybe we can reduce that down. And it's in collaboration with their doctors too. It has to be a team effort. Everybody has to be on board and do it safely.
Is there any last things that you want to share? And I might not know what to ask.
Well, one, I think for everybody out there, sometimes it can feel a little bit hopeless. Like you get this diagnosis, and when you're in the midst of a flare, it just feels like what has happened to me? What is this? And so I just want everyone to leave this podcast with a little bit of hope of, okay, today is a rainy day. Today is not a great day, but that doesn't mean all my tomorrows are going to look like this, that there is hope. Lupus research has changed so much over the last 20, 30 years. And just take it day by day.
Mm-hmm.
That keep on to that hope, keep on thinking about, okay, what can I do to help myself? Do not blame yourself. Do not blame yourself. Sometimes I see people that are like, oh, I'm being punished for something. I
Yeah.
deserve this. That's not true. Not true at all. Unfortunately, it's tough, but that doesn't mean it's always going to be as tough as it is right now if you're going through it.
Okay, so can you tell us where we could find you on social media, and if anybody wanted to connect and work with you, where can we find you?
Yes, please. So, anybody out there, please follow me on Instagram or on TikTok. Although, who knows what's happening with TikTok right now?
Mm-hmm.
I can be found everywhere as the Lupus Dietitian. So, that's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest. My website is thelupusdietitian.com. Please reach out to me. I absolutely love making connections. So even if you're not ready to work with me right now, you just want to connect and see what content I put out there, follow me. I would love to have a conversation. And I'm not going anywhere. So no rush, but I'm here to help if you're ready.
Aw. Thank you so much for coming today and sharing all your wisdom. And we should catch up next time and just because I really want to know a little bit more about the nutrition side of everything and the gut cleansing.
Yeah. It's so interesting. There's so much to learn. There's so much to talk about. I would love to be back anytime and continue our conversation. And thank you. This is an honor to be part of a really cool list of amazing women, people with lupus on this podcast. So thank you for connecting with me. And I'm so honored to be part of this group.
Thank you so much. Until next time, you guys, peace and be intentional. Bye. As we wrap up another episode of Lupus Speaks, I hope you are leaving with renewed inspiration and a belief that dreams are attainable despite lupus or any chronic illness. Let's keep the conversation going by connecting with us at Lupus Speaks on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Please remember you are not alone on this journey and that your dreams are not defined by lupus. They're powered by your strength and determination. So until next time, you guys, peace and be intentional.